two global figures. One studio built for polite conversation. What was intended as a thoughtful discussion on service, trauma, and responsibility would subtly transform into something far more perilous. By the hour's end, one chair would sit empty, and Prince Harry would exit the frame while the cameras were still live. Yet the moment everything shifted was not outwardly dramatic. The studio lights of the View glowed softly that morning, bathing the familiar set in a warm tone designed to evoke comfort, safety, and civility. The audience applauded as Prince Harry emerged, his expression composed, almost rehearsed. He wore a tailored navy suit, open collar, no tie, a carefully curated casual, approachable, and modern unroyal look. He nodded to the crowd, offered a polite smile to Whoopi Goldberg, and took his seat. Moments later, Angelina Jolie entered from the stage's opposite side. The applause changed, not louder, but different, slower, heavier, laced with respect and curiosity. Dressed in simple, unadorned black, her posture was calm, her expression neutral. She did not scan the audience or smile for the cameras. She acknowledged the hosts, sat, folded her hands loosely in her lap, and waited. Externally, it resembled a standard episode. Inside the room, however, the air felt tighter than usual. Whoopi opened the segment with her trademark warmth, stating they were honored to host two individuals dedicated to causes greater than themselves. Harry inclined his head slightly in appreciation. Angelina offered a small, silent nod. The first 10 minutes proceeded smoothly. Harry spoke of mental health advocacy, redefining masculinity, and stepping away from institutions misaligned with his values. His voice was steady, practiced, he had told versions of this story many times before. Angelina listened, not passively, nor dismissively, but with the measured attention of someone appraising. When her turn came, she spoke quietly of refugee camps, families displaced by war, and children who no longer remembered the meaning of home. Her words were simple, unembellished. She did not frame herself as a hero, but framed the work as unfinished. The audience leaned in. Joy Behar smiled, sensing a productive contrast. "It's fascinating," she remarked, "how advocacy can take so many forms." Harry seized on this immediately. "Yes," he said lightly. "And I think what matters most is using your platform. If you have a voice and you don't use it loudly, what's the point?" Angelina did not respond immediately. She shifted slightly, eyes still forward, then said calmly, "Sometimes the loudest work happens where there is no platform." It was not an argument, nor even a direct disagreement, yet something in the room shifted. Harry smiled, but it failed to reach his eyes. "Well," he replied, "some of us don't get the luxury of working in silence." Whoopi glanced between them, sensing an edge but letting it pass. The conversation continued cautiously. Harry spoke of scrutiny, growing up under observation, and the pressure of expectation. He described walking away as an act of courage and self-preservation. Angelina listened once more, then posed a question, not directly to Harry, but to the room. "Do you think," she said softly, "that choosing visibility is the same as being forced into it?" Harry turned toward her, eyebrows lifting slightly. "I don't think I chose visibility. It was assigned to me." Angelina met his gaze. "And yet," she said, "you still choose how you use it." A murmur rippled through the audience. Harry leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. "Some people don't understand what it's like to have your entire life dissected," he said. "Every decision framed as a performance." Angelina nodded once. "I do," she stated. "I just learned that not every response needs an audience." The ensuing silence was heavy, not awkward. Joy attempted to soften the moment. "Well, clearly both of you have had very different paths." Harry cut in, still smiling. "Different paths, sure. But I think there's a tendency to romanticize suffering when it looks noble from a distance." Angelina's expression remained unchanged. She did not interrupt or defend herself. She simply said, "Suffering doesn't need romance. It needs responsibility. That was the first crack, not yet visible, but irreversible. The cameras rolled on, the audience remained seated, and no one, not even Prince Harry, realized the rules of engagement had just been rewritten. By the time the first commercial break ended, the studio atmosphere had shifted. It was not louder or chaotic, but profoundly watchful. Prince Harry now sat forward, elbows resting lightly on his knees, the relaxed posture from his entrance entirely gone. Angelina Jolie remained still, her composure unaltered, as if the tension belonged to the room and not to her. Whoopi cleared her throat carefully. "All right, let's keep this moving. We're talking about advocacy, responsibility, and accountability," Harry interjected smoothly. Angelina glanced toward him. "That's an interesting word," she said. "Who do you think it applies to?" A ripple of low murmurs moved through the audience. Harry smiled, a sharper edge behind it now. "It applies to anyone who benefits from a system while criticizing it. Some people spend decades inside power structures and then pretend they're above them." Angelina did not bristle. She waited. "I don't pretend to be above anything," she replied. "I step away when I no longer need to be seen." The statement landed with more impact than any applause. Joy Behar leaned forward cautiously. "Harry, do you feel misunderstood by people who've chosen a quieter approach?" Harry exhaled, almost laughing. "Quiet doesn't mean pure. And silence doesn't automatically equal wisdom." Angelina finally turned fully toward him. "Neither does visibility," she replied. "Or repetition." The word hung in the air. Repetition. Harry's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I repeat my story because people don't listen," he said. "Because institutions bury truth unless it's forced into the open." Angelina's response was immediate yet measured. "Or because some truths don't change," she said, "no matter how often they're told." The audience fell silent. Whoopi shifted in her chair. "Let's talk about service," she suggested quickly. "Angelina, your work," Harry interrupted again. "Service without accountability is just charity theater." This time, Angelina did not wait. "That's interesting," she said softly. "Because from where I stand, service that never leaves the microphone is performance." A collective gasp swept the room. Harry straightened, his eyes narrowing. "So now you're questioning my motives?" Angelina met his gaze unblinkingly. "No," she stated. "I'm questioning outcomes." Joy whispered, barely audible, "Oh, boy." Harry let out a short breath. "Easy to talk about outcomes," he said, "when you were never trapped inside an institution that controlled your voice from birth." Angelina tilted her head slightly. "And yet," she said, "some people are born into systems that never let them speak at all." It was the moment the audience understood, this was no longer about charity, trauma, or royalty. This was a clash over who gets to define suffering. Harry leaned back, crossing his arms defensively. "I walked away from everything. Titles, privilege, protection." Angelina's voice did not rise. "And then you sold the story," she said. Again. The studio froze. Whoopi opened her mouth, then closed it. Harry laughed, sharp and humorless. "So that's it. That's how you see it." "I see what's presented," Angelina replied. "And I listen to what's repeated." The air grew thin. Joy Behar tried to inject humor. "Well, this is getting real." Harry ignored her. "You think you're above this," he said to Angelina. "Above scrutiny, above criticism." Angelina shook her head once. "No. I just don't confuse scrutiny with purpose." The sentence cut deeply. Harry leaned forward, his voice tightening. "You know what's exhausting? Being told your pain is branding, that your fight is a performance." Angelina did not flinch. "What's exhausting," she said quietly, "is watching pain turned into identity." The audience erupted, not with cheers or boos, but with stunned noise, a mix of disbelief and awe. Whoopi raised a hand. "All right, we're going to take a breath here." But Harry wasn't done. "You don't get to decide how I heal. And you don't get to decide how the world sees you," Angelina replied. That was the line no one could walk back. As the cameras faded to commercial, Harry stared ahead, jaw clenched, breathing controlled but shallow. Angelina folded her hands again, her expression unreadable. Behind the scenes, producers whispered urgently. For when they returned, this would no longer be merely about words. When the cameras returned, the applause was uneven, some clapped from habit, others did not clap at all. Prince Harry sat upright, shoulders squared, hands clasped tightly. The casual ease was gone, replaced by a sharp, defensive alertness. Angelina Jolie, by contrast, appeared unchanged, calm, grounded, as if the storm had moved around her. Whoopi forced a smile. "Welcome back. Let's reset." Harry let out a quiet scoff. Angelina did not react. Joy Behar leaned forward cautiously. "Harry, a lot of people relate to your story, but some also wonder, do you ever worry that telling it so often locks you into it?" Harry turned to her quickly. "No. What locks people in is silence." Angelina spoke evenly. "Sometimes, silence is how you move on." Harry laughed, short and incredulous. "Easy to say when the world listens to you without demanding explanations." Angelina met his gaze. "The world listens," she said, "when you stop demanding to be heard." The audience gasped. Harry leaned forward, his voice rising for the first time. "So now I'm demanding." "No," Angelina replied. "You're insisting." Whoopi raised her hands. "All right, but," Harry was already in motion. "You don't get it," he said, eyes locked on Angelina. "You were admired, protected, celebrated. I was dissected." Angelina nodded slowly. "And yet," she said, "I didn't make it my shield." The impact was palpable. Harry's face flushed. "You're implying I hide behind my pain." "I'm saying," Angelina replied carefully, "that pain can become armor, or it can become baggage." The room went still. Joy Behar whispered, "Oh, wow," unaware her mic was live. Harry stood up halfway, then sat back down, a loss of control. "You think I wanted this?" he snapped. "You think I enjoy reliving it?" Angelina's voice softened only slightly. "I think you've built a life around it. And I don't think you know who you are without it." The audience reacted viscerally, some clapped, some groaned, some stared in disbelief. Whoopi's expression hardened. "Angelina," she warned gently. Angelina did not look at her. Harry stood fully, his chair scraping loudly. "You don't get to psychoanalyze me on daytime television," he said, voice shaking with strain. "You don't get to sit there in moral stillness and pretend you're above it." Angelina stood then, not abruptly or angrily, but with the certainty of a decided conclusion. "I'm not above it," she stated. "I'm beyond it." Harry stared, chest rising rapidly. "You think you're better than me?" Angelina shook her head once. "No. I think you're stuck." The word landed like a physical blow. Whoopi stood, palms out. "All right. That's enough." Harry turned to her, eyes blazing. "No. I'm not finished." Angelina looked at him with clarity, not anger or pity. "Then you never will be," she said quietly. That was the moment. Everyone in the room understood no calm conclusion was possible. Harry gripped the back of his chair. "I came here to speak my truth, not to be dismissed by someone who's perfected looking unbothered." Angelina did not raise her voice. "I didn't dismiss you. I listened, and then I disagreed." Harry laughed bitterly. "This show pretends to support honesty until it makes people uncomfortable." Whoopi stepped forward. We support respect. And this isn't it. Harry turned to Angelina one last time. You win. You always do, quietly from your pedestal. Angelina replied with her calmest word yet. There is no pedestal. Just distance. Harry froze, then nodded once. Right. I'm done. He unclipped his microphone and let it drop onto the table with a dull, echoing thud. As he turned toward the exit, the audience erupted in stunned noise. Angelina remained standing, not watching him leave. The curtain did not slam shut behind Prince Harry, it closed softly. The absence of dramatic flourish was the detail replays would miss. The studio remained frozen. Later, headlines would debate who was right or wrong, but one image would circulate above all, the empty chair, a symbol not of exclusion, but of choice. As the lights dimmed, one truth lingered: not every argument is won by staying, and not every silence is weakness. Sometimes the most powerful moment on television is the realization, come too late, that one was never in control of the room. Sometimes the walkout isn't the statement, the stillness that follows is. Some conversations end with applause, others with headlines. This one ended with an empty chair and a silence louder than any argument.